guys for inviting me. I'm happy to just share a bit about my experience as a dietitian on what works best for patients as far as being able to just have an overall healthier lifestyle, because I think I think we're seeing a lot of trends like fad diets. We're seeing a lot of people wanting to become healthier, but sometimes it's just becoming a lot more complicated than what it is, more complex. And so I'm happy to just kind of share what I know works and can help people build like healthier eating habits. Um, so on that topic, unless you guys have any questions in regards to what I currently work at, I'm more than happy to start just kind of sharing some of my tips to improve dietary habits.
Okay, before you start your tips, tell us how you started. What made you become a nutritionist? Some people might ask, I don't know, some people, or,
Yeah.
That's my question.
That's a great question. So interestingly, I went to college and was trying to find my passion and trying to figure out what I wanted to be and what my calling would be in this life, right? And I took a lot of classes, and for some reason, econ just I wasn't completely in love with it. But thankfully, because I became an esthetician to work for work, and I ended up getting so much training on the human body and how it works, I ended up finding a passion for nutrition and how it has a huge effect on our body. So thankfully it all started out with just taking new classes and then just finding an absolute passion for anatomy, physiology, and even surprisingly chemistry. So that's how it all started.
Nice. And I know everybody in this room wants to ask questions. We're going to wait until the end of the chat, and then you'll be able to ask any question you want. Well, not anything that has to do about nutrition. So let's go over the simple, because not that everybody wants a quick and easy route, but sometimes people just they live a fast life. What are simple, things that you recommend?
So again, I really like to steer away from these complicated diets, fad diets that we are constantly bombarded with of, taking out a complete food group, of removing, all carbs because we're going to have a quick result. What's unfortunate about this is that people will have quick results with it if weight loss is the goal, but if it's not sustainable, that weight loss will not be sustainable either. And so it's so important to really pay attention to the diet that you're trying to start and see if it's something you can do for the long run. I often hear, oh, I'm just going to do this to drop some weight at the very beginning, and once I keep it off, then I'll go back to my eating habits. But that still can also make you gain weight afterwards. So and you also hear about detoxes and cleanses, and I think a lot of people are forgetting that our liver and our kidneys are just wonderful organs that do a phenomenal job at detoxing our body from it. Let's talk about some things that are more sustainable than these diets that we're constantly seeing. So one of the things that's really important to me and that I often share with my patients is to practice mindful eating. It really is a game changer. And this is because we're having to be more present when we're eating. And it's quite challenging with such a fast pace that we're all at, trying to accomplish 100 things in like 1 minute. But I like it because it's a challenge and because it really keeps you in tune with your body. So to share a bit about what mindful eating is pretty much being present during your eating experience. So you get to take your time chewing your foods, putting your fork or your spoon down while you're eating, just helping your body digest your food fully. And it's also savoring every bite. So instead of eating distracted. And so that's what I call with intention and attention. The intention to, I can't wait to eat this because I'm going to feel nourished or I'm going to feel energized. And that's very often the opposite of what we hear, where it's like, I'm so hungry, I could eat a cow, right? You hear that often. So we're trying to kind of stay away from that and just be more present. So yeah, that's one of them.
So eating, because we do this, Janelle and I, eating during a chat like this will be wrong because we're not enjoying our food. Like we've done that before in our other chats.
Exactly.
And then you don't even know what's going in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Absolutely. And I'm guilty of that myself. And so a lot of times I want to have my snack while I'm like putting some thoughts together, writing, working. But that's become sort of my little meditation, because the minute I'm going to like start to eat something, I just kind of put everything to the side and just take my time, because I deserve that time. I'm doing everything I can already. And so it really makes you kind of give yourself time, which we all deserve, right? And nutrition is so important, and we need it every day. That's why, distractions aside, is so important. And the next thing I wanted to share is, oftentimes people focus on, what is it that, I can't eat, right? So all the foods to avoid. And so you hear, okay, so tell me what I can't have. So patients will say, I can't have like some fried foods, or I can't have this. I'd like to kind of just talk about, let's change the mentality of looking at it in that way, and just kind of giving more focus and energy to what you can have. And so in that way, we are not giving so much importance to what you can't have. And have you noticed that sometimes whenever you know that you're not supposed to do something or eat that, it just calls your attention 100 times more? And so, yeah, we want to, like, again, steer away from it. We want it to be more natural. And the other thing in regards to focusing on what you can have is also not focusing so much on the calories, but focusing on the nutrients you're about to have. I understand that people like to focus on calories a lot because calories equate to the energy you're taking in. And if you take extra, it just ends up getting stored in the body, and most people don't want that. And so, so definitely paying attention to the nutrients rather than the calories, because 100 calories of fruit is not going to be the same as 100 calories of, chips. So, so focusing on that a bit more. The other tip that I like to share with my patients is try to aim for creating meals that are rainbow-like, meaning that they have all the different colors. When you do that, you're more likely to get all the nutrients that you need. But you don't have to go out of your way. So really just working with what you have at home. I really don't like food waste. And so it's important to, if for some reason you don't have some red in that food, it's okay if you have some strawberries right after, right? But just being creative and open to trying new things, because that keeps you happy with your meal. And there's a misconception that healthy eating means that you're eating bland bird food, or I've also heard bunny food. It doesn't have to be that way. it could always be tasty. It could always be fun. So yeah, so that would be another one. The other thing is make it practical for yourself. You don't have to create this very balanced meal all the time. You literally have toast with peanut butter, banana slices, a little bit of cinnamon sprinkled, and boom, you've got this balanced snack. And you didn't have to, open up, get a crock pot and put some food together that way. And the other thing is, besides the making it practical with using what you have, also writing down, oh, tomorrow I'm thinking of having, let's say, a sandwich in the morning, and then maybe a bowl of maybe some good legumes like beans and rice and some salad. But having an idea the day before of what you are thinking of eating can really help you in shopping for the ingredients that you need and just planning ahead. And that's how you're able to succeed, when you plan ahead. Yeah, any questions on making it practical?
It sounds so it sounds so easy, and I know that people probably like, I can do this, and that's what it should be. I think people start saying to themselves, like, I really like the number 2 one about focus more about the nutrition than the focusing on the calories, because I think a lot of people, we focus on like calories, and like you said, it's different 5 strawberries than a bag of chips. You're getting different calories. So now I'm shifting the way I think about that. And the rainbow one was pretty interesting because so that's something that is new to me. I always knew that you gotta, I always envisioned the plate and the pyramid, and but I like the rainbow because then that's more visual. And as a visual learner, I can be, okay, I have my salmon. Okay, I need orange, I need yellow, I need green, so that was pretty interesting for me about the rainbow. And the plan ahead, I agree with you, because if you don't plan ahead, Chick-fil-A looks delicious, which I don't even eat Chick-fil-A anymore, but you get what I mean? Like, you're driving by and you're just like, where to eat? You're just gonna eat anywhere. Exactly. Because you're not planning it.
And I was going to share too, there was actually a study done at Cornell University, and they found that whenever your food, there's more contrast with the color of your plate and your food, you're more likely to eat less rather than eat more. So if your plate is white and you're having pasta, white pasta that has fettuccine Alfredo sauce on top, you're most likely to eat more. So there's something about the color of the plate and the food kind of mixing with the plate that will actually make you consume more food. And that goes with also the size of your plate. So if you serve your meals in a smaller plate instead of the typical 9-inch plate that most people eat out of, you'll end up consuming less calories too. So yeah, it's a lot of benefits from what you use to eat with. And I think the last thing that I wanted to make sure is that you're consistent. So consistency is incredibly important. I would say it's key to having a healthier lifestyle, because you're really training your body to require that same amount of food at that same amount of time. And so that consistency really can help keep up with your routine. And then a routine becomes a lifestyle. And you no longer have to worry about making so many changes right? And then just keeping up with it. So,
right. So yeah, I have a question about those changes. Because you say making those little slight changes, right? The mindset around like, okay, be positive about the food. Don't think about the eliminations. But are there things that you have to add, and other than like more water, right? From what I know. as a fitness instructor and, you know, dancer, more water is always good because we don't get enough water. But are there things specifically for diabetic patients and people that are obese that they would add instead that would kind of change their mindset around that elimination thing, right?
Right.
So that's my question.
Yeah. So when we talk about diabetes, I would just say balancing meals. And, you know, we often hear the balanced plate or the balanced meal. What does that really mean? We're talking about including a good source of protein in at least 1/4 of your plate. At least 1/4 of your plate is going to be carbs. And trying to balance it out with like non-starchy vegetables, like making half of the plate non-starchy vegetables. But that division ultimately helps in creating more of a balanced meal, even with somebody that has diabetes. What happens with diabetes is that oftentimes half of the plate is not composed of non-starchy vegetables, but instead of, let's say, white rice. Not to say that white rice is bad, because I don't think any food is really bad except for soda. I do have a hard time with that because of how addicting it can be for kids and adults. And so it's kind of like
now even those ones that are what's those famous ones that everybody's
water.
drinking now? Yeah, even that is bad.
So I'm okay with there's the Spindrift, there's the LaCroix, but they found some like not so good ingredients in LaCroix at one point. They thought it was by accident, but we don't know truly if what happened there. But Spindrift is one that has like 10% juice and carbonation, and so it's similar to soda. So I would recommend that 100 times over a soda. And, you know, talking about foods that, like you talked about earlier, the Chick-fil-A or soda, these foods are hard to compete with. So if, let's say you were to offer a child some chicken tenders and some fries and on the side some cucumbers, do we really think the kid is going to have the cucumbers or he's even going to be excited about it? There's no way it can compete with it. So really, let's say with that example, maybe having the cucumbers and hummus before you serve yourself a meal is probably the best way. A meal that has, you know, the extra fat or the extra sugar or the extra salt that makes it inevitable for you to eat, and sometimes just to overeat, because there's something called the bliss point in our brain, and it's just when these ingredients are put together and they're engineered, right? Because we can't find that in natural foods. That's why we have more control when we eat more whole foods. But so these foods, sometimes you can overeat and still not feel completely satisfied because you could never really stop that kind of euphoria that you get from the combination of those 3 ingredients. But
now,
and then as far as, oh, sorry, I was going to say something about obesity. Okay, so the obesity part, I mean, that's multifactorial. There's so many factors to look into whenever we're trying to help somebody with obesity. But one of the biggest things is, again, decreasing or limiting the amount of processed foods and increasing more of the whole foods.
And I have a question. The processed foods are anything that is processed and kind of made with like chemicals and more than 5 ingredients, correct? Like if somebody's asking like, well, you know, what defines a processed food?
Yes, so that's a really good point. So a lot of foods are slightly processed. If they go through like a blanching, meaning like once let's say vegetables picked, they end up blanching it, putting it in hot water and then freezing it. I mean, that just went through a process. So processed foods just means that something that went through a process. However, I'm not worried about you having, let's say, some frozen vegetables because of the minimal amount of processing that happened there. But I am concerned if 100% or 80% of your diet is from foods that have gone through so many processes to the point where there's nothing left of that nutrient of what it originally was. Does that make sense?
And I just had another question, really quick, about what do you suggest to people that, like us, that we work out all the time, we dance. I'm a dancer, I'm a fitness instructor, my body's moving all the time. I know there's these theories of like eating after 6 or don't eat after 8, or if you want to, intermittent fasting, or wake up and eat, or wake up and drink water. And does it vary from person to person? Do you have to find a rhythm? Because like after my sometimes I teach until like 8:30 at night. When I come home, I'm hungry. I'm not gonna just go home and sleep. So do you suggest what kind of food I can have that doesn't make me feel guilty? I know healthier food, but some people are like, don't eat after 6, especially women. They're like, oh, don't eat after 6. And I'm like, well, I can't, I just worked out.
Yeah, so that's a really good question. So there, I feel like there are a few questions there, but number one, we create our own schedule in a way. So the thing with nutrition is that it's not black or white, and a lot of people have a hard time with it, and they're hoping or wishing that I would say, hey, you can never eat this. This is not good for you, and this you can have as much as you would like. But it doesn't work that way. It's all about balance. It really is, like everything in life. And there's a great area. And so what works for you personally is going to be different for what works for let's say, Janelle. And so your schedule may be different than hers. At the end of the day, it's not about a straight 6 p.m. cut, no more, food. There's people that have night shifts. So are they supposed to just not eat for a good 12 hours? No. Our body gets accustomed to the routine that you have. And so, especially after a workout, I would definitely recommend at least a post, exercise snack, some protein. You could easily peanut butter and banana, boom, you've got all the nutrition that you need right after some exercise. And then I would even recommend a meal. I think when people talk about that, they're referring to, or I hope this is what they're referring to, is that there's not going to be much movement after 8 or 9 o'clock. And that is true because we're about to sleep. So I don't recommend you have this large meal, right before you go to bed. Number one, that can cause GERD because you're not allowing your body to fully digest the food, and they could come back up. And then, you get super tired, and that's just from the body having this heavy meal, and then you're just sitting or laying down. So just keeping in mind that if you're going to go to sleep right around 10, maybe an hour and a half or 2 hours before, it'd be great for you to have your balanced dinner. So so it's not about 6 o'clock. And there are a lot of studies that show that if you stop eating at a certain time, it may be helpful, but I'm pretty sure the reason for that is because there's not much movement. And so these people are storing their calories. And when I say storing calories, I'm sure you understand what that means. Weight gain. Yeah.
I had a question for Luisa.
Sure.
So right now I'm trying to gain like I should be consuming in each meal. Cause like some meals I get like 900, some meals I get like 1600, and I mean they're well balanced meals, but I was just curious on that.
That's a good question. So ultimately, if your goal is to gain weight, you would usually have to consume an extra 3,500 calories or so to gain a pound. But what you can do is you can distribute that throughout the week. And so you don't necessarily have to have so many like large meals. And the thing too is that it has to do with, is your 1,600 calorie meal a meal based on whole foods, or is it a meal that maybe, takeout? Takeout is easier for the calories to add up, even if it's a small amount. So ultimately, for weight gain, what I recommend is having lots of, at least 3 meals and 2 snacks, bare minimum, that are high on protein and healthy fats. And of course, carb, because that's absolutely needed. But instead of combining or eating too much in one meal, I'd rather you distribute it. And again, that goes down to, that comes down to your stomach capacity, right? We don't want to overstretch the stomach receptors just because you're trying to gain weight. We want to make sure that you're providing the nutrition that you need, absorb it, and then keep on metabolizing the rest of the food. Is that helpful? Sure.
I know we have another question. Should we say we're gonna say goodbye to YouTube? I know we're saying goodbye to YouTube. Thank you guys. Thank you for listening. Follow her. She's amazing. She has all this good content on Instagram, videos and recipes. I tried her avocado recipe with the parsley. The parsley. Was it the parsley and the lemon juice? Oh, it's so good. So